Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. This week, the nominations for the Nebula Award were announced, and as I was glancing at the novel category, I realized that I have either read or want to read almost every single book on that list. I thought it would be fun to go through the list, talk about the ones that I've read, my plans for what I want to read, and what so far I want to win. The first book on the list is actually one that I was surprised was in the novel category, to be honest. Spear by Nicola Griffith. I honestly thought that this was a novella. This is a queer Arthurian retelling story, but when I started reading it, I didn't realize at first that it was an Arthurian retelling. I honestly was attracted to this book based off of the cover alone. It tells the story of a young person who wants to make a name for themselves, but their mother is somewhat of a witch. There is a lot of concealing magic that has shrouded how this person has grown up, and they're just aching to go out in the world and make their name. This person does eventually strike out, and this is the story of them developing their prowess with the spear and as a guardian and going on to bigger and better things. It's a lot of story in a short book. I really liked the writing style. It has that lyrical, mythic type of prose to it. It's a militaristic story that is wrapped up in magic and legend. Check out Spear, the surprise novel, because it's quite short. Next, probably shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, which I've recently spoken about on this channel and tons of people have been talking about lately. It's basically a novel of high fantasy with low stakes, as the author pitches it. It's about a mercenary orc who wants to leave that life, so she saves up all her earnings, moves into a small town, and opens a coffee shop. And the story follows her day to day as she buys and renovates the building, slowly hires the staff, and grows the business. But there is a subplot of this sort of magic and this danger that's hanging over Viv's head. It's just a sweet story that centers you very much in kind of classic D&D style setting that was really enjoyable to read. And honestly, it's probably the one that's going to win. Actually, having just said that, another book on the list is Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, the Arcane... Oh, hold on. I'll get it. The Arcane Translators Revolution and Arcane History of the... I'll get it. Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, and Arcane History of the Oxford Translators Revolution, which was another highly regarded and very well promoted novel that came out last year. This is the Fairy Loot adult version, which is probably one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen. It is about a young boy who is taken from his homeland as an orphan, brought up to learn and deeply understand various languages because the art of translation has been turned by the British Empire into a form of magic, which helps them to hold on to power. So the book goes into a lot of the issues and impacts of colonialization. The characters begins to wrestle with this love that they found for translation and this magic, but by staying in that world and promoting that magic and promoting the system that is currently in place surrounding that magic, they are negatively impacting countries that have been colonized by England. It's a very deep story from that perspective. The fantasy, speculative elements definitely take a seat compared to the more social commentary of the story. So some people, if they were going in looking for a real heavy-hitting fantasy, that's not what this novel is. However, it does have a lot to say. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, could probably give Legends and Lattes a good run for its money. Next are the novels that I haven't read but want to read. And the next one on this list, you probably won't believe me when I say, that I haven't read it yet, because it is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. That was actually the first T. Kingfisher novel I ever heard of. Other booktubers that I watched started talking about it. They also started mentioning other books by this author. And for whatever reason, I picked up those other books first and really, really loved them, but I haven't yet gotten to Nettle and Bone. Have you ever had that feeling where when a book is talked about a lot, it makes you want to read it a little less, either because there's this pressure on it or you feel like it's getting overhyped or something? I kind of felt that way with Nettle and Bone, even though I really, really like the author's writing, so that's a weird thing in my head. But it's a story about a young woman named Mara, I believe, who goes on a quest to try to save her sister from a very bad marriage. However, the marriage was for a political reason and they don't want to threaten that. So she enlists the help of a dust wife or a witch and several other very unlikely companions, including a demon chicken, I've heard, in T. Kingfisher style, to help her sister. It's another one that's not very, very long, and it's high on my priority list. Moving on to a science fiction, The Mountain in the Sea, which I ordered after seeing the list because this had been on my radar. Browsing at Barnes & Noble, I saw it on the shelf and I really liked the cover. This is the story of spread of a dangerous species of hyper-intelligent octopus that may have developed its own language and culture, and a marine biologist will do anything for the chance to study them. The stakes are high. There are vast fortunes to be made by whoever can take advantage of the octopus's advancements, but forces far larger than the scientific group close in to seize them for themselves. But no one has yet asked the octopuses what they think or what they might do about it. That sounds really cool. And the last book on the list is one that I'm not 100% sure if I will get to, because it's the third book in the Locked Tomb series called Nona the Ninth. The first book in this series is called Gideon the Ninth. I really, really liked it. It had a great sense of humor. It's pretty firmly science fiction. It follows the story of Gideon, who is basically trapped on 11th house, and this house's power is necromancy, and she hates being there for reasons in the history. She's trying so hard to escape this planet and keeps getting thwarted by the heiress of the planet, Harrow. Harrow finally cuts a deal with her. If Gideon will help her win this inter-house competition and basically goes as her bodyguard, then she will let Gideon finally escape. When they get to the planet where this competition is taking place, it turns almost into a closed room murder mystery because various contestants start dying off even as they're trying to solve the riddle and the mystery to win this competition. The grand prize is a very prestigious place in the overall society. It's very wacky. There's a lot of really interesting world building, and like I said, there's a lot of humor in it. But unfortunately, when I started the second book, Harrow the Ninth, the style changed, and trying to read it broke my brain. I don't know if any of you tried it and also agree. The structure of it was very convoluted and confused, and I think that's because the character themselves was really confused, and everyone says it's worth it if you get to the end, but I never could quite get to the end. I think I'm willing to give the novel one more try. Let me know if you've tried it and if I'm alone in feeling that way about Harrow the Ninth, because it does seem to be very well regarded by people who have read it, and lots of people were very excited about Nona the Ninth, which is the nomination for the Nebula this year. So if I can get through Harrow the Ninth, then I will try Nona the Ninth. And those are my thoughts on the novels that were nominated for the Nebula Award this year. I think that Legends and Lattes is going to win. I'm biased towards T. Kingfisher, but I haven't read Nettle and Bone yet, and I still have to read half of the novels on the list. Who knows who's actually going to come out on top, but let me know your thoughts, which novel you would like to win, which ones you've read or might want to check out. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks.